I might be wrong there. So all right, we're good to go by the looks of things. Yeah, we're good to go. So
yeah, start again.
Start again.
On the top.
Good evening and welcome.
Sorry.
On the top. We've had a few technical difficulties this evening, as you can see. So good evening and welcome to SGS Live. We're Southern Ghost Society. I'm Hev, and here with us this evening is Mary and Andy.
I'm the guy who messed up the audio earlier.
Hi. Yeah, we've had a few little gremlins. We do apologise for it. We're fairly new at this, aren't we? It's about our 5th episode, isn't it? We try to go live Thursdays and Saturdays, and we're on YouTube and Facebook. So all we ask for people is come join us and join in with the information. You know, let us know who you are. Let us know where you're from. It's always nice to know who's tuning in and whereabouts in the country or countries you're contacting us from. So this evening we're going to be, if anybody saw Thursday's show, we're going to be following on from that, and we're demoing the footage that we've gathered from many investigations at Fort Widley. How many investigations have we done there, Andy?
34 investigations.
34 investigations at Fort Widley. I think I've only done about 12 of those. I haven't done that many. So, but we've got some really interesting clips for this evening, haven't we?
We do. I mean, 34 investigations, it does give you an awful lot of things to get through, and to be honest, sometimes you even spot things when you're going through things which are existing, etc. But yeah, we've got 5 very interesting bits of footage which kind of covered a few different sorts of events. So and some of them we did talk about on Thursday, and some are brand new and haven't been shown anywhere before.
No, indeed. I say we were reviewing quite a lot of the footage earlier today, and like you say, there's things that even we spot that we hadn't spotted previously. So it's nice having that time, and certainly with lockdown, it's given us the opportunity, hasn't it, to actually go over quite a lot of the footage and kind of put it all together. Because when we're all working full time, and then we're doing the ghost investigations, and then we try and gather the information together, it is a little bit of a frantic struggle, isn't it, to be honest? So in some ways, lockdown has done us a favour, but I think we're all chomping at the bit now to actually get back out there and start investigating, aren't we?
It's the amount of time it takes to actually download all the stuff you've got on the investigation, put it on a computer, sync it all up, and then start going through it. You're on the next one. So it's definitely a process which is difficult to keep up, and you have to kind of keep up, otherwise it buries you. So this period of not being able to go out, it's been amazing for trying to catch up with that.
I suppose we ought to give a bit of a shout out to Dan and Lee, who aren't with us this evening, who are the founder members of Southern Ghost Society. We wouldn't be forgiven if we didn't give them a mention, would we?
We do have Dan from Netley online.
Dan from Netley.
What a surprise there.
Online as well.
So Dan from Netley, have you ever been to Fort Widley before?
Yeah, let us know whether you've been there, Dan.
Well, seeing as he investigates with me most of the time, I'd say you've been there at least 12 times.
Other people we've got online, we've got Julie. Julie's online. David. We've got Julie that is from Wallington, Surrey. Ian Williams here for the first time, so welcome Ian. So feel free to let us know if you've got any questions about tonight, or any experiences that if you have been to Widley, you know, we're always more interested in sort of, you know, other people's experiences sort of are the same as us or even different to us. You know, it's we're very keen to sort of hear other people's experiences and see whether they match with ours, you know.
Absolutely, it's good from a sort of validation point, isn't it? If we're gathering similar evidence to other groups, other people, then it's really quite nice. Like we do at the end of most of our events, we'll exchange information as a debrief, won't we, on our events? So it's actually quite nice to see if other groups or other individuals are getting similar results to us. So the format of our evening this evening, like I say, it's going to be focused on showing you or demonstrating some of the footage that we've gathered over our investigation. So we'll introduce the clip that we're going to show you, explain any equipment if it's a piece of equipment that we think you might not have seen before, show you the clip, and then we'll discuss what's in there, and that's an opportunity whilst we're whilst we're seeing it, is to actually drop us a line either on the YouTube chat or the Facebook chat, and just ask us anything you want to, or if there's something you see or there's something you want to query about the clip that we're showing, just ask. Basically, that's all we sort of say to you. So Andy, I'm going to pass over to you now for sort of a bit of a kit demo, isn't it, on the REM pod? Because I think our first clip is on the REM pod. So for those people like Ian who haven't joined us, who maybe have never been on a ghost investigation, we try to explain the equipment rather than just assume you understand what the equipment is or how it works. So Andy, over to you.
So the first clip occurs in the old bar area of Fort Widley. So as Fort Widley had a big barracks block, they also had an officers' mess. And when we first started investigating there, they actually still had the bar, and it felt more like it was sort of back when it was in service. But since then, it's all cleared out. It's just like another room now. So only if you've been there for a few years, you'd even know what that room was compared to the room next to it, compared to the room next to that. So we'd like to investigate in the bar quite often, because it does seem to respond quite well to different things, and some of the thought is it seems like you have events which are maybe reoccurring, but that one's in the bar seems to be quite responsive. So let's take a look at a version of a REM pod, which we'll show in the clip. So what we see here is a Mel meter with a built-in REM pod. So if I switch it on, what this does is this aerial here is very sensitive to any static electricity, any charged particles which are going to hit it. So like me, my hand, as I go near it, it lights up, and it's detecting my energy, amplifying it, and then showing something's going on. So the idea being is if nothing's near that aerial, then only just random pieces of electricity, random energy is going to set that thing off. So let's pop that off to make sure it doesn't trigger anything else. So what I'll do now is flip across to the footage, and here this is featuring Mark, who's a member of our team, who's been using this REM pod, and he's taken this REM pod up and down the country countless times. And quite often he's basically tried to challenge whoever he's talking to be able to trigger that REM pod when he does a countdown. And up until this point, he was in the bar and said, I'm going to put this down, I'm going to try this experiment, I'm going to count down a number and see if it goes off. This has never happened for me, it's never going to work.
And I want to just let the room settle on a count of 5 and see if you can do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you do it now, please?
There you go. You finally got it.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, stop, please.
There you go. So, just in case you didn't see the REM pod I was talking about here, this is it, and that is what I was talking about with the aerial and the lights. But yeah, that was quite amusing. I think Mark was quite happy that he'd got his test finally successful, and it actually went off in the bar. And after that occurred on the night, we actually had a few other things go on in that room, which were also quite intelligent and using other things apart from the REM pod. So it was quite a good session really, which started off with Mark trying the same repeated experiment.
I say it is really nice when we get interaction on a countdown, because it sort of almost rules out for us that it's just sporadic, isn't it? If we actually, and I don't know whether you guys do it, but when I'm counting down, I'll sometimes vary the speed at which I'm counting down, so it isn't sort of methodical. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I try and vary the time just to try and test to see if it is an interactive, sort of intelligent spirit, for want of a better word, that we're actually interacting with. And I think that demonstrates it really quite well from Mark's point of view, doesn't it? It's actually done it pretty well, hasn't it?
It was literally bang on. It was five. And it was a 5 count as well. So it had gone off a little bit before, which is why we're all focused on it. So everyone's around the room and they're all looking at it. It had a couple of bits of interaction, and that's why Mark stepped in and thought he'd try and just make sure what we were picking up was actually something trying to communicate with us.
Excellent stuff.
But was there anybody sort of with keen eyes that noticed anything else on that video? I'd be really interested, sort of, from anybody watching, whether they saw something. Because earlier on, we saw something in combination with that countdown.
Ooh.
So,
yeah.
I don't want to give it.
No, don't give it away just yet. But yeah, if anybody has seen anything else that we haven't mentioned, I say just go into the YouTube or the Facebook chat and just let us know if there's anything that you see.
Play it back quickly, just so people get a second look.
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, I think we've got sufficient time, haven't we? So yeah,
okay.
Play it back again.
And I want to just let the room settle. On a count of 5 and see if you can do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you do it now, please?
There you go. You finally got it.
Yeah, that's my problem. Okay, stop, please.
It'd be interesting to see what else. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what people pick up from. So, our second piece of footage this evening, I think, Mary, it's one of yours, isn't it? This next piece.
Yeah. So this was a session in one of the tunnels. So another hotspot area. So it was in the West Tunnel, and it was right at the beginning of the session. So we were setting up for the night, and I was so busy setting up, I didn't actually hear this in real time. It was 2 gentlemen that sort of were part of our group that were just sort of listening out while I was putting the equipment out. And I think it's an audio clip, so I think you should be able to hear. But basically, I'll sort of say what I think it is, but hopefully you guys can pick it out. But so as I was setting up, you can hear a whistle in the background. Now, we'd all gone up to the second level and say, Heather, you've warmed it up downstairs for us. And we'd come up onto the second level, and I know everybody was up on the top floor. Nobody, as far as I recall, was downstairs. But you hear a whistle. Then there's something else that we still need to sort of do a little bit more investigating on this, and a little bit listening back to our audio, because we just to explain for everybody, we set up in a way that we place audio equipment out in the building before we start investigating. So Andy would have had a piece of an audio recorder downstairs on the lower level, somewhere in that area, and as team leaders we all go out with audio on our wrists, so that if we can capture some audio, we're able to determine, you know, if it was closer to John, if it was closer to me, if it was closer to downstairs. So when we listen back to it, we'll be able to understand where and in what direction the sound came from. But long story short, there is a voice that appears, or you can hear, just when I ask, did anybody whistle? So again, it looks like we're getting a little bit of feedback on the last video, but if you can hear it, let us know. But yeah, Andy, I'll let you play it now.
Who whistle then? You got a radio on the whistle? Yeah, whistle. Two times the other week, so I didn't hear one.
What did you hear?
Whistle. Whistle. Heard a whistle.
Did anybody whistle?
What the hell was that?
That was this. That's that.
It was not. No, that was someone down there. There's a groan. Yeah. So was someone there was what down there? It was really loud.
Okay. So, yeah, so let us know what you can hear.
Yeah, like I say, if they're seeing anything, well, and that one they won't see anything, but they hear anything that we haven't picked up on, or just let us know on the chat. So you said, Mary, we've got some feedback from the first.
So Julie says, looks like there's a shadow on the wall. Yeah, so we hadn't seen a shadow on the wall, but
that's something we can look back at, isn't it? Look at
yeah. So what we had seen was that there was some orbs, sort of almost sort of, or light anomalies, if I can say the word, but going on the wall. So it may well be that it's very similar to what Julie's seeing. But yeah, we've seen some orbs in a couple of places. One sort of particularly going past the REM pod just as Mark gets to about the 4 mark.
Right. Okay, so we'll count for the shadow as well.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else coming back in on the whistle clip so far, or we've got to give people a bit of a chance to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andy, we're going to go on to our next clip. You've got a cute, a very integral piece of kit, haven't you, that you and Beth bring on to investigations, don't you?
Yeah, I had a little sneak peek of him just a minute ago, but I'll show him. He's not been around for a little while. So this is our K2 bear. So ages before you could sort of buy these things on the internet, I thought of an idea of trying to disguise the equipment we were using, because some of it can be a little clinical and a little bit inapproachable. So what I thought of doing was hiding a piece of equipment inside something not scary looking. A bear. Thought that'd be quite nice. So I had to trawl around all the charity shops in Shirley to try and find something which would fit the K2, but also be able to sit up and not get in the way when we were trying to film things. So went down to the charity shop and then went to a few different bins, pulled out a few of the bears, tried to work out which one was going to fit, which one I kind of wasn't going to get out of the way. And the lady from the charity shop came up and said, "Oh, that's a nice bear, isn't it? you do like him?" I went, yes, especially when I got him. So basically, took him home, tore open his bottom, and put a K2 inside him. And he's been a member of the team for the first, 3 or 4 years of investigating, and literally came everywhere with us, up and down the country again, in castles and forts and stately homes, etc. And some of the older videos you'll see is him being triggered. He was actually a very successful member of the team. And you'll see him on the next video attached to a tripod and with a melmeter next to it. Now the melmeter records EMF, and then the K2 bear also records EMF, so they're a good thing to pair next to each other to just be able to justify one thing going off with the other. But that being said, that isn't actually the main point of this next bit of clip. So as I was talking about on Thursday, one of the things I really like about Fort Widley was the fact that we'd had repeated cases of these footsteps up on the parade, which is the top area of the fort, which connects the west and the north tunnels. And this clip is the first time we'd ever caught these footsteps. and it was my partner Beth who actually picked them up. And what we were doing in that particular investigation is we were actually doing a bit of calling out and trying to use some of the names of people who had picked up in old newspapers who had worked at the fort, had a backstory of being at the fort. If I found out if things had happened to them or life events involving the fort, I like to try and understand who's at a place and use that when we're calling out. So I was doing a bit of that, and Beth was observing, and I kind of left her alone a little bit. and she managed to pick up some of these footsteps. So I'll play that clip and we can talk about it a little bit afterwards.
Okay. The millimeter went from 0.1 milligauss to 0.2. It says, anyone here, you can communicate with me. Okay, I thought I heard footsteps at 23:04, perhaps, 05. What is that? Is there someone here with me? Is there someone here with me? You can talk to me. I won't hurt you.
It'd be quite interesting to see what Sam would be in that situation, wouldn't it? Yes.
And yeah, I think, sorry, your sound has gone. We're just getting feedback that
Okay, how
your
about
sound
that?
has gone.
Good. I think that was...
I think that's better. Sorry, you might have to recap.
Yeah, I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, you were fine. I think it was just Andy's sound.
So, the next time we went, we basically completely kitted out that entire parade and put a parabolic dish on one end, shooting down the entire length of the parade just to try and pick up any audios. Audio recorders every few meters, some with kind of these anti-wind rat looking things on them, on the condenser mic, and just try to capture the same thing again. We went up there for a good period of time. We were doing the same sort of calling out. We were trying to replicate what we did last time to see if we can get the same sort of result. And we didn't for most of the night. So that kind of hour or so standing on the parade in the middle of the wind didn't get much at all. Until the end of the night, when I went up there on my own to go and break down some of the equipment. So what I'll show is the footage of the layout of it. And what you can see here is what it kind of looked like. So it was very overgrown. I'm walking down the fire step there with Beth. This is still daytime, but just to the right of there, that's the old parade where people walk up and down. Later on, you can see we were putting out some equipment down the length of this thing, and we're trying to catch footsteps.
116, 2, 3, 4.
Mine was so loud that when I was taking down the equipment and taking down the parabolic dish, and the video you can see from there was actually from a trap camera, that I literally thought someone was walking behind me. And it was the end of the night. It was kind of 1:15. The only people in the rest of my team was sort of just in the floor below, so I wasn't expecting anyone to be up there whatsoever. So I'm literally holding that trap camera in my hand when I turned around to go kind of who's there, but no one was there at all. It was just that sound of crunching gravel, really. Towards the end of it, you hear it a little bit louder, the sound of that gravel. And as you saw from the first bit of the video, there's no gravel there. It's all just grass and really overgrown, sort of weedy grass. So as I mentioned on Thursday, Dan got in touch with a local historical society and literally said to the guy up on the parade what surface used to be there, and the guy said gravel, which is interesting when you think the sound that we captured didn't sound like grass. It sounded like someone walking on that gravel, and you can probably hear from my footsteps at the end when I'm exploring the parade. I'm not going away quickly. I'm not running. I'm just leaving. It sounds like grass. You can't really hear my footsteps as much. But yeah, so every time we've been up there since, in all the times we've been to Widley, I always spend a good chunk of time there, and always kind of over egg the pudding and put down more audio than I would normally do in investigation for one area. And we've caught it in 2 other times, which was good. One time when I was just on my own again, and another time when I was with Beth and also a society member, because I'd kind of been talking about it. They came with us to do the video up there, and we were pleasantly surprised. And it's always in the same spot. It's always closer to the north tunnels than the west tunnels. It always seems to kind of be leading up to that point and then stopping. So I'm not entirely convinced my kind of calling out and using names and history did anything at all to kind of make that happen. I think just with that one, it might be being in the right place at the right time in the right conditions means that you can witness it, as opposed to being able to influence it or communicate with something to produce it.
So we're thinking it's more of a residual energy rather than the intelligent ones that we communicate back and forth with.
I do, because it does seem to be. It seems to sound the same. It's in exactly the same place. It seems to stop at the same place, and then have a little bit of a start. So it's almost like footstep, 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 stop, then a big footstep. And what that means, I've no idea at all. But got an interesting question from Julie about the same time, and not quite. It's always later in the evening. So in terms of ghost hunting, I would say it's usually a third session thing. So either at the end, just before midnight, or past 12:30. They tend to be the same sort of times. But I've tried a few times going on there bang on the same time. First few investigations, bang on the same time would go up there. And no, unfortunately it's not exactly the same time. And there doesn't seem to be any pattern in times of the year as well. It's occurred lots of different times of year, lots of different weathers. It's been a bit difficult to pin down, but more times you go, the more chance we'll get to work that out.
Did you say that you'd been trying some calling out before getting those footsteps? I'm not sure if you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I might have mentioned it when I was all silent. Yeah, so I kind of, my memory was that after that first investigation, we went away and we found out more about what could have happened on that parade. So I found a number of different historical tragic events which involved people who had lost their lives literally up there. And on future investigations, I was then using those as kind of just trying to communicate with people, find out if they were there or whoever was there knew that person. And on reviewing the footage today, when we were putting this together for this show, I realised I actually used one of those names on the first time that Beth heard it. I was calling out for this private's name, who I know fell off the parade. And I'd actually been calling out for him, but that was the first time we'd actually been to the fort. And because of that, I'd then been using that name for the last few years. Every time I go up there, I say hello to him, and on the off chance of maybe being able to make some sort of contact. And the problem is, because I've been doing that so many times, and I have been getting it when I have been doing it, I don't know if I'm doing that, or it's just I'm saying it, and then it's going to happen anyway. So I think I need to go another dozen or so times and not do it, and then find out if I get the footsteps or not.
Well, fortunately for us, I guess we're quite lucky that it's one of our favourite venues. It's on our doorstep, and it's very, very accessible to us, isn't it? And I know you probably sort of said on Thursday, obviously we're still in lockdown. We can't investigate safely at the moment, but there seems to be a little bit of a, excuse the pun, light at the end of the tunnel. Get it?
How's that day job going?
We'll be getting back to Widley. So yeah, I say hopefully, towards the latter part of this year, we might be able to get back into Widley, mightn't we, and sort of pick up where we've left off. And it will be really interesting because we haven't investigated. It will be interesting to see if everything's kind of gone quiet in there, or if the activity, because there's been that quiet lull and nobody's been in there disturbing their Friday and Saturday nights, they're probably quite thankful that nobody's been in there.
Dan had a theory, sort of, on one of our previous episodes, that where we haven't been going to places, the spirits and the ghosts, might be just as desperate as us to sort of get out there and talk to people. So, I do think it could be, it'd be really interesting to see which way it goes. But yeah, I think, there is possibly going to be, I'm hoping, more active.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, where they want to talk to us as much as we want to talk to them. So yeah. Yeah,
certainly be interesting to see. Like I say, Widley is on our doorstep in that sense, so it's a really nice venue that we can get to there. It's because some of the more sort of distant venues, it kind of makes a long weekend, doesn't it? Whereas that you kind of get in and it's quite easy to replicate because we know the areas. We've done it quite a few times. So it is really quite nice to replicate some of the experiments that we've got going on.
Yeah.
And also, we have new people on the event, so, introduce them to the way we investigate. So, yeah, looking forward to doing that again. Is there any more feedback on any of the clips yet? We've got anybody do? Because I don't want to ignore anybody. If somebody's taking
that's fine. So Ian heard 2 whistles.
Yeah, I think it was your clip,
Julie.
actually. I think it was about.
Yes, yeah. that was on the whistles. Jim said that the shadow goes towards the REM pod, so we'll definitely look back at that.
Look at that.
I think that would be interesting. And I think that covers it for the moment.
Going back to the beyond the repeat experiments thing, I think one of the most annoying things is when you go to location. So I'm thinking of the Towers Hospital in Leicester, and we had like one chance to investigate that place because it was in the middle of a building site. So they'd already taken down a number of the wards, a big chunk of the building, and they were building houses there, or student accommodation, or both, or Tesco's Express probably. And we had one chance to go there, and we had an amazing night. Every possible thing you could think of experiencing capturing was happening all night long, and it's guaranteed if you can't go back to a place, you're going to have a cracking evening and never be able to prove anything or be ready to try and actually capture that again. And it's the same, like I say, with bigger locations. You don't have the opportunity to kind of go back to them as much, whereas places such as Widley, you get to try lots of experiments there that you can repeat and see how they affect things, and you tweak it a little bit the next time, and you can really kind of hone your investigation skills in places which you can go back to a few times, and you can get home from quite quickly, and it's not going to be much of a problem investigating there.
It's good. I think it's a nice one for the equipment as well, isn't it? Because then it's a way of testing out the equipment that we bring with us. Yeah, we've got the run-of-the-mill, like the kit boxes that we have, but there's, well, I know Andy. For those that don't know, Andy is our tech guy, and you are forever making and creating new gadgets and gizmos, aren't you? That we'll test out on investigation. Well, you test out on investigations. I just stick to the usual board and the dowsing rods and things. Yeah.
Much of a tech guy in the audio tonight.
No, that's the gremlin in the system, because you've had a few issues today, haven't you, in your area? So I think that's probably what there's a knock-on effect from that. I think
I'm going to blame that.
Yeah, I think there's obviously something going on with your little patch that's affecting the issues this evening. So yeah, never mind. So on to our next clip, it uses the K2, doesn't it, Andy? I think you can do a little demo on the K2, won't you?
I kind of briefly showed the K2 in the previous clip of the bear, but you couldn't really see it because it was in a bear.
It's inside the bear.
So here is a K2 which is not inside a bear, and the basic concept of this device is it also has an aerial. So like the REM pod, its aerial though is internal and goes in a coil around the board here, which picks up electromagnetic energy as it passes through. The interesting thing about them is they're not multi-directional. So that coil going this direction means that the waves have to go through this direction or this direction. And if a wave is travelling this direction and you've got it like this, it won't pick it up. So when you're investigating and then you see a light beep on and you move it around and then suddenly it disappears there. So you can see this, and I'm doing it here actually. It's detecting some EMF, and then I flip it up like this and it goes off. On, off, on, off. And that's literally just because that's the way that the antenna works inside the K2. So the reason I'm mentioning all that is that in the next clip we get to see multiple K2s, and they're all integrating, going off at the same sort of time. And the fortuitous thing is that the people using the K2s were all holding them in the same orientation, which meant that the energy that they were picking up was hitting all of them at the same time. If one of them had just tilted a little bit like this, it wouldn't have been going off at all, and it wouldn't be such a good video. The other interesting thing about the video, which was again one of Mark's, so Mark's had a bit of luck at Fort Widley. It's up at the battlement, so the parade. So where we had the footsteps, this is also where Mark and a small team also picked up some EMF, which is really odd because literally that's outside with a stone step, grass, hedges. There's no electricity up there whatsoever. There might be some radio waves coming in, etc., but as per our EMF live stream, these devices don't pick up on anything higher than 20,000 hertz, which is nowhere near radio. So it needs to have some sort of close proximity EMF. So
yeah, I think the signal that came through on these K2s is so strong as well, isn't it? You know, I say occasionally the team K2s are modified so they bleep at the same time, so it's really useful at nighttime investigation. You don't have to sit and watch it, you can hear it, and you kind of get a little bit of a blip up to maybe a yellow or an orange if you're lucky, but these are up to red, and they're up there, aren't they? They're staying on red.
I think to kind of, as we've got this on here at the moment,
yeah.
So if I turn this on, this is kind of on an occasional yellow because I've got a lot of stuff going on my desk. If I put on something with a nice big chunky signal, so here's a soldering iron, and I'm still only on orange now. It's not even gone up to the full red, and this thing is a bit of a beast. It generates an awful lot of EMF. We're not looking at a huge amount there, so that's kind of showing with a mains voltage, which is actually a heating coil, that you need a lot of EMF for it to hit that red mark. So talking about mark,
I think it's also interesting to point out this moment that standard for all the team leaders is to switch our phones off if we can, but put them onto flight mode, because we do know that mobile phones can or do interact with the K2s, and you get that. If anybody's had a mobile phone close to a radio, it's that the
thing,
Looney Tunes type thing, isn't
it? And you can
it?
see that on the K2 because it'll go green to yellow all the time. It doesn't ever go above the yellow. Green, yellow, green, yellow, green. Yeah, sorry, I just enjoy doing that.
So we're confident. Absolutely, it is though, is it? So that's the thing. As team leaders, we're confident that it's not mobile phone. As somebody go, yeah, well, somebody's got their. But we'll see, because the clip is filmed on a mobile phone. So that would be an obvious layperson's explanation, but it's not being affected by the mobile phone. And the fact that, like you said, the K2s, they don't set each other off. They don't interact with each other. So it isn't a case of, like babies, one starts crying, the whole lot starts crying. That just doesn't happen. So, it's quite an interesting clip. I think, obviously, we reviewed it earlier, and there's something else that's been spotted, but I'd like to see if anybody else, there's a visual anomaly, a light anomaly, and see if anybody picks up on it as well. We won't tell you where it is, because I think we've got enough time to do a replay anyway. So, okay. Andy, do you want to play it? Let's see what we get?
Lights flash again for us, please, because that was absolutely amazing the first time.
Yeah, really.
If you want us to stay, if you want us to stay, please flash all the lights for us. Maybe get to the end light, the red light. Can you make all three? Or all three of ours flash, please?
Does it make you tired, flashing the lights? No. Are you still there?
Just like
thank you.
Let me just say that the device I'm now holding over the area, okay, is called you may be from a time that you don't recognise this. It's called a phone, okay, and on it I can record what we're looking at. Please don't be afraid, okay. This can't harm you or hurt you in any way. And what I would like you to do for me, and I promise you, if you do this for me, I'll turn it off so that it doesn't bother you any longer. Can you make all three of the devices light up red again like you did before? Take my energy, use as much of it as you want. Make them light up, please, and then I'll turn this off and I'll put it back in my pocket so it doesn't bother you anymore. Can you do that now for me, please? And please make those lights come on for me.
Are you still there? Could you flash the lights again? Please. Sorry, I'm being rude.
Would you like us to go and leave you in peace?
Or maybe you want us to stay.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm now going to. I will turn this off now. Like a.
There you go. Very, and it's right. It's right at the end. The strong EMF, but yeah, it's very obviously the same wave that all those three are picking up, because it's exactly the same frequency of it going off and the same power. Though you notice right at the end, the one that's kind of closer to the camera has a little bit of a blip, so there might have been more orientation towards that particular person. But either way, on the set there was just nothing which could set it off naturally that wasn't brought with someone. As I said, there's always need to make sure you rule out things like phones.
Yeah, the weird thing for me is whenever I'm going to have to rethink the way I investigate, because whenever I've had a K2, I've kind of pointed it towards the direction that I'm thinking whatever it is that's going to interact with me is going to be in front of me. And of course that quite clearly proves that unless it's a really, really slim spirit, it might be. I don't know. We genuinely don't know how they are, do we? But I've never thought of having them in such close proximity like that. You know, I've had them dotted around a board or, you know, in a confined space, but certainly not thinking to put them in that kind of configuration to see, you know, as it multiplies. I don't know. It's just a different way of investigating that I've never considered before.
It does
really
help locate it as well, and back up that it's not just the device, it's not doing anything weird. Getting things on multiple devices is always amazing. I mean, it's good if you have multiple devices and they're measuring different sorts of things, but in this case it was a really unusual experience, and I think judging by the start of the clip there was a reason that they kind of stopped at that point as well and were doing that K2 experiment. So that would be also interesting to kind of look into as to what made them stop and do the K2 experiment in that fashion as well.
Yeah, I mean, I very rarely have K2s go off at Fort Widley, purely because there isn't any electricity around, and just for me, I very rarely get K2 hits, but if I do get them, I have had them, but they've been very low hits, you know, it's not been as strong as that. So, but then saying that, I haven't investigated that area, as you say, Heather. It's you know, we all sort of tend to investigate slightly different, so
yeah. It's lovely for having the opportunity to review some of the footage and, like say, sit in this, you know, format and actually sit and discuss it, because there's stuff that I haven't seen, and to actually be able to view it and discuss it like we are, even as like team leaders, we, you know, did you see such and such? Have you caught that? What, did you notice that? You know, bits and pieces, and certainly with that bit of footage, I was reviewing it earlier, and I texted Andy and Beth and said, I've done it again, Andy and Mary.
Okay.
You know what? It's always Andy and Beth. Andy and Beth are always together. So you go, hi Andy, hi Beth. You know, sorry, Andy and Mary this evening. And I said, did you look at the spot at 1 minute 15 seconds? And I don't know if is it possible to replay that at all, Andy?
Absolutely.
And that bit of footage. Is it possible to put the time up on it? I don't know whether people can view it at 1 minute 15 seconds.
I don't look at, yeah.
If not, don't worry about it.
I think.
Oh, I don't know.
That's fine.
Like I say, it was what I got this afternoon. I just went, oh. All I would say is, as it's going to, keep your eyes on the top of the screen. There's a person in the background wearing black, and the top left of the screen. Tell me what you can see. That's all I'll say. So if we're able to replay that again and just see if people pick up on that.
Let's see if I can jump to kind of closer to that point.
Lights flash again for us, please, because that was absolutely amazing the first time.
Yeah, really.
If you want us to stay,
Yeah.
if you want us to stay, please flash all the lights for us. Maybe get to the end light, the red light.
Do this for me. I'll turn it off so that it doesn't bother you any longer. Can you make all three of the devices light up red again like you did before? Take my energy, use as much of it as you want. Red again like you did before. Take my energy, use as much of it as you want. Red again like you did before. Take my energy, use as much of it as you want. Red again like you did before. Take my energy, use as much of it as you want. Make them light up, please, and then I'll turn this off and I'll put it back in my...
Okay, I think I managed to get it so we replayed it a few times in a nice kind of spot around the time you called out there. So.
Okay, cool. So it'll be interesting if anybody else picks up. I think there's some sort of light anomaly. I've said to the top left screen. I'm assuming it is the top of the left
I think,
screen, isn't it? Yeah.
Just seen that as well. She said she saw a flash on the top left.
Excellent stuff. So yeah, some sort of strange translucent light. We bandy about this word orb, but we don't really know. It's light anomaly, whatever you want to call it. There's something. I must admit, I was tricked with the clip earlier in it. I thought, oh, what's that? And then realised it was actually somebody walking behind, just slightly out of shot, and it was somebody's trainer. So that wasn't paranormal. But I sort of like paused and went, oh no, it's somebody's. I don't know what trainer it was, but yeah, quite interesting. So it's interesting to see if anybody else sort of sees that.
Yeah,
or
Julie said whiskey orb, and I would tend to agree. For me, it didn't look classic orb shaped where something was completely out of focus. It was more like a flash of something. Kind of if it was dark, to me that looks like someone's moved a torch around, but this was still daytime outside. So
actually, when we were talking about it, Andy, you sort of said it would be quite difficult to see orbs during the daytime, but and it's very easy to miss. But yeah, it's it was during you don't. What I'm trying to get to is that you don't normally see them during the daytime, do you?
There's been lots of when kind of orbs start getting recorded on cameras, which was predominantly when we start moving to digital cameras in the 90s. The first thing people did who were taking photographs and getting these orbs, who weren't interested in the paranormal, was then contact the people they just bought their really expensive camera from and say, hey, Mr. Sony or Fujifilm or whatever, my camera's got these blobs in it. What's going on? I've moved to digital now. Why am I getting all these problems? So all the big camera manufacturers looked into it, and a lot of them came back with what you're catching there is just something which is in field and out of focus. So you're using a flash, it's picking up a particle dust which is then reflecting back a light, and then the sensor isn't really understanding what to do with that, so you're ending up with this just out of focus blob, which is why we say you're seeing dust. It's because you're seeing this reflection back from a flash or an IR light or something which is strong enough to bounce that light back towards you off a very small tiny thing. But during the day they're not using flashes or IR lights, or you've got, at that point of the time, the night is quite a low setting sun and no one needing to use night vision at all. So what would flash back light off tiny bits of dust in the middle of the day? You don't tend to see the dust in the middle of the day unless there's a strong light goes through it.
And I think it's quite clear it's not an insect, because you'd see the flight of the insect. It sort of appears, it disappears. I think we've all captured, certainly when we're filming at night time, bugs and moths and mozzie things flying around, and that certainly isn't anything like that. And like you say, without the flash, there's nothing to bounce the light off anyway. So yeah, it was just one of those anomalies that I think we'll be reviewing a little bit, more maybe. We'll give it to Mark. It's Mark's footage. We'll let Mark.
Say, look at this K2 fishing, it's amazing. And you're like,
Mark.
Yeah, well, what about that light anomaly? All right, okay.
Yeah. It's just like a little bit of everything, isn't it? It's just, reinforces again. Is that what's triggering the K2 activity?
It's a shame at that point. I don't think you can see any EMF spikes on those K2s, because that'd been perfect. But like I said before, the K2s only go off in one direction. So if that was giving off EMF. That wave would have to be travelling in a direction which would actually hit the K2 as opposed to where it was. So it doesn't rule out that it was giving off EMF, but it's a shame that we didn't actually capture it in that shot. Next time. Yeah.
Isn't it? Next time.
Now we've got to put audio recorders and
why we
data
keep-
meters down the entire length of that parade.
Yeah, I think we have to remortgage that
I hope it
house. Yes, definitely. Right, so Mary, have we got any more questions or any other feedback at all at the moment? Because I think we're getting close to our end time, aren't we?
Julie just confirmed it was across the top of the arm, which is what we could see. But yeah, apart from that, you know, wispy orb, flash top of the left. So yeah, they all see what we saw, and yeah, it's good. But
Backing bit of K2 activity and a little bit of extra as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, excellent. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's the clips we were bringing you this evening. So hopefully you've enjoyed this evening. Thank you for joining us if you've joined us live, and thank you for the interaction. I say that's what kind of makes the show and drives it for us, isn't it? Is having participation, audience participation. You know, letting us know, you know, what you think, as well as what it's not just about what we think and what we're choosing to show you. Always say is remember to like us and subscribe. We're on YouTube and Facebook. So the more likes and subscribes we get, the longer we can continue in this format, which then sort of helps us. And then when we end up doing live investigations, we can be in this format out on investigations, so you'll be there with us, well, probably with Lee and Dan with the cameras. That's usually the format, isn't it, when they're live streaming?
Yeah, but we'll all be around, but yeah,
you'll hear us in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing the hard work.
Yeah, doing the hard work.
No, they're still watching, that's why I'm saying.
Yeah, we know they're watching.
To come back.
Running around with the cameras. No, so it's been a good fun this evening, hasn't it? And it's nice being able to share the footage that not just the three of us here, or not just Lee or Dan, but the whole team, because the whole team capture all this evidence on the investigations, and you know it's all just pulled together, isn't it? It's just been absolutely fantastic.
Right. Yeah, I mean we've got a great team that, like you say, we've all got sort of individual skills, and we all investigate different ways. But once it's all pulled together, yeah, it really works on the night. So yeah, it will be, you know, great to be able to share that with people once we can go live. You know, and it's great to have that interaction with everybody.
Yeah. Like I say, like, subscribe, and then we can bring this to you live when we go out to our venues, when we're live streaming from Widley, although I'm not sure how that's going to work down in the tunnel.
On the parade, that's where everything happens.
Yeah, I say, for those that don't know Widley or haven't been to Widley, Mary's backdrop is one of the tunnels of Fort Widley. So if you want to just move to the side, that gives you an idea. I'm not sure which tunnel is it. Is that not? No, it's like a paint if it is.
West tunnel.
That's the west tunnel. Okay.
I didn't dig the tunnel over lockdown.
They are hand dug, but not by us.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the history of Fort Widley, I would suggest you watch our show from Thursday, because it's all the information on the background behind Widley. So this is like the second part of the two-part show, and then perhaps go back and view the rest of our clips. I know, Andy, you've put quite a lot of stuff onto YouTube, demos of the equipment that you've made, but also the equipment that we utilise. And the great thing is it's putting it into a format where everybody can understand it. And I think that's a fantastic background to what we're doing as investigators. So I think I'm going to shut up now, as true Dan style, and thank everybody for joining us this evening, and hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.